Hey, what is up? It is the Beast of the East podcast on the Believe Podcast Network and here right on Willis Digital Media. I think somebody threw a golf ball and hit my internet modem. That's probably you, Craig. Um, Joining me is the man himself, Craig Ladd. What's up, Craig?
Hello, Corey. How are you? By the way, on the promo there, I don't know if you could see that. The guy in the white hat looked eerily like Steve Spurrier. I don't, the kind of guy that was kind of throwing back his head and kind of celebrating. Looked like Steve Spurrier. I think that was
It probably
the
was.
old ball coach at the Ole Miss game.
I'm just sitting here watching Tennessee for the first time in my life. They called some good ball plays in that game, and that's what we do. So, yes, that was the case. But, man, we got an action-packed show for you. This show is brought to you by French's mustard, I should say, French's mustard. If you need some, just go to Neyland Stadium. You'll find plenty of it on the field. So,
We see a bottle of mustard right there and throwing it on the field.
Yeah, there you go, man. That was an impressive launch too, to get a bottle of mustard to land on the field just perfectly like that. So, but as you can tell, our chat is blazing. Our associate producer Jake Thomas, after a win, is in the chat. So we welcome everyone in the chat. Willis Digital Media getting landed some haymakers early. Kiffin derangement syndrome from Guy Caldwell. So there's going to be plenty of Ole Miss Tennessee smack, and we'll get into that here in just a little bit. Well, we are actually presented by betonline.ag, and we are back and better than ever. A new web interface for the start of the basketball season, and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Yes, they do play this sport where they have this round ball and try to get it through a hoop. Kentucky fans are experts at that. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE50. That's BLEAV, the number 50, to receive your bonus. For basketball, football, baseball postseason, my Braves are up 2-0. NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. So, yeah, Kentucky is a basketball school again. Yes, they will go. What's scary is they have a really good chance of going 11-1. 56K. They do have AT&T does have fiber in our area. I don't know why it downgrades like this. It's crazy. Works really good all day, and then all of a sudden I get here and it's like, hey, I'm not gonna work. But let's start in Knoxville. The Tennessee mess. It was a mess indeed. It was a really good game marred by what was an embarrassing situation for Tennessee fans. They still hate Lane Kiffin 12 years later.
Don't get it.
I'm not well, I understand why, but I don't get, like, it's been 12 years.
It's not like he left there, Corey, and had won 5 national championships. He left after 1 year. What's the big deal? I don't get it. I didn't have a problem with it when it happened. The guy said he left for his dream job. Hey, if that's his dream job at USC, then leave. I don't blame him. I don't blame him a bit. I don't know. I still don't understand what the big deal is about it. I really don't. I'm not taking anything away from Lane Kiffin, but let's face it. He got run out of town by the Raiders, and USC pretty much the same way. I mean, it wasn't like it was Saban who was leaving. I could get it if that was him, but I just don't understand the big deal. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't either. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, they hate Lane Kiffin so bad. It's weird. It's just downright weird. And to throw all kind of things at him and at on the field, even with a blown call, like the refs were bad. Yeah, I get that. But have you ever been so mad that you just wanted to launch things onto the field?
Well, here's the problem, Corey. These universities, they talk out of both sides of their mouth. They're going to condemn what happened, rightly so, in Knoxville on Saturday night. But on the other side of the mouth, they're saying, "Okay, keep drinking that beer, making that money for us. Keep drinking that beer." To me, I mean, it's a recipe for disaster when you're selling alcohol, when you're selling beer to
Mm-hmm.
college students at a football game. And like I said, seemingly for whatever reason, these universities cannot make enough money. And when you're condemning what happened in Knoxville out of one side of your mouth, and then the other side, you're encouraging beer consumption so you can make more money, I have a problem with that.
Yeah, it's very, very, very double standardish and double edged sword or whatever those sayings are. But yeah, I mean you can't expect to liquor up or fill college students with beer and expect nothing crazy to happen. I mean, look at an NFL game years ago. Like, there's a reason why they give you plastic bottles and they take the top before they give it to you because of what happened in Cleveland. Like it's like alcohol. I get it. Everyone wants to get sauced before the game. I understand that, but I mean, at some point you got to say, okay, we can't have these issues, or the next step. Okay, they got a hefty fine, but the next step now is going to be, if something like this happens again, is to play in front of an empty stadium. And how much revenue do you lose off that? A ton if you're Tennessee, because it's 100 and something thousand seat stadium. So, like, they've got to get a control on this. And the first thing is to limit alcohol sales. And I know that's a big moneymaker, but you're the University of Tennessee. You have plenty of money. Money should not be an issue. But it is our chat is blazing. Jake says, "Don't sleep on Bama basketball this year." Yeah, they're pretty good. You can sleep on Georgia basketball though. I'll let you do that. You can sleep on them. They might be. I don't know. They might be the worst team in the SEC. I don't know. Vanderbilt might have
Yeah,
something to say about
I,
that, but
I wouldn't go that far.
yeah. Well, we got 4 new starters. Like, we lost everyone to the transfer portal, so, and we gained some other random people from the transfer portal. So who knows? Craig is the only sane Tennessee fan. Jeb, we will see what he says on After Dark. Yeah, that's SEC officiating has been bad for several years. So Jake, you could probably take SEC off of that and just say officiating has been bad for several years now. It's bad all over the place. So we're not the only conference. This is
Well,
not unique to us. Joe Milton is the only person in Neyland not to throw something.
this is what I've never understood. You've got guys out there older than me that's saying something, trying to run around with these super athletes. They can't do it. Can't do it. Can't keep up with the game. It's too fast for them. They can't keep up with it. So what you're doing is, we use these guys because they got great experience. Well, so be it. But if you can't get to where you need to be to make the appropriate call, then what good does it do?
Doesn't do any good. I mean, it's there's a human element to it, and your eyes can only process things so quickly. And you get these guys who've probably been trained 1 year, 2 years, that especially these box guys, they're trying to make fumble calls, holding calls, all kind of stuff in live action, and yeah, they're going to miss a ton. It's going to happen. Like, and they have replay in there, and sometimes replay you know doesn't even get it right, and sometimes you can't see things on replay that you know especially in that context. So understand that with football right now, you're going to have to take some level of bad officiating, and just, it is what it is. You got to overcome that. They had plenty of chances to win. They did, but
I think,
yeah.
on the play, the play to Warren when it was 4th and 24, which I couldn't believe they went for. And, I think if they would have ruled that a first down, I think it would have stayed a first down, because I never saw a definitive angle as to where the ball was. Like I said, I think if they'd have called it a first down, they'd have left it a first down.
Yeah, I mean, challenging spot, very, very difficult unless you're on a 10-yard line or the goal line. Um,
Come on, guy. Yeah, I mean, you're not Colonel Steve Austin with your bionic eyesight. There was no definitive angle that I saw where you could say, okay, he was short, or okay, he made it. That's why I say, if they would have called it a first down, it would have stayed a first down.
yeah. Yeah. Whatever they ruled on the field in that scenario, that was going to be the case. Like there were several calls in the Georgia game where if they had ruled it the other way, it probably would have stayed because there was not definitive answer. When they say the call stands, it means yeah, we couldn't tell.
Right.
So we didn't want to, we can't guess. Which I can live with that. I can live with that. I mean, I've obviously we probably down, probably assume that he was short or, whatever side of the fence. If you're Ole Miss, Ole Miss person, yeah, you got it. Or, uh, Tennessee person, he was short or however it was. Whatever side of the fence you were, it was either short or he got it. Based on but the video evidence showed that we really don't know, and no matter how many times we watch it, we're never going to know. So just got to let those things go. I mean, officiating, obviously it's not, you just gotta you just gotta overcome it. And sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. Tennessee will get a call somewhere down the road that you'll scratch your head and go, "Wow, okay, that was bad." So what goes around comes around, right? Right, Craig?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that it just happened to, I guess, build up in that game. There were a few, the call of forward progress was stopped. Well, to me, there was no forward progress wasn't even started. He had no forward progress. Period. He never went anywhere. So that to me is like, well, you've got to have forward progress in order to stop it. So
Yeah,
I didn't
exactly.
understand that call either. I get why they called it, but still, though, I mean, you didn't. There was no forward progress to stop.
No, not at all. So, but let's get some other takeaways from that game, other than just the bad officiating. We know that is what it is, but again, you've got to recognize that Tennessee, with Hendon Hooker, which he may not be available this week against Bama, they're actually playing like a viable football team. They're playing a lot more together. They have a run game. Their tempo is really giving people problems, and I like honestly. This is gonna kill me to say this because of all the stuff that's on the wall behind me, but I I like the way Tennessee plays. I really do. Um, and I like the way Ole Miss plays too. I thought it was a very entertaining game. I thought it was, very back and forth. The drama was there, obviously, but you take away the two blown calls, and you take away or I guess however you look at it, but you take away the two official things, and you take away the debris being launched from the stadium from the stands. This was still a very entertaining, drama filled game. I mean, it had you on the edge of your seat the whole way. And, you know, it's one of those that I feel like you hate to see someone lose. But, Hooker has impressed me a lot. Tyon Evans is outstanding. Javon, their receivers are starting to come on. I think Javonte Payton is having a pretty good year. But, as I pull up the stats, Craig, I mean, outside of the obvious stuff, what else stood out to you
Well, I
about this
thought
game?
both defenses played very well. I mean, the over under was 82, and it didn't even it never sniffed the 82. So, as first half, Ole Miss played very well defensively. They really did, and uh, you know Tennessee got some stuff in the second half, and to be quite honest, I thought Tennessee played well on defense also. They couldn't stop Corral from running the ball, but they weren't getting Ole Miss wasn't getting the big chunk plays that they get passing the ball that I've seen coming into this game. So I thought both defenses played very well considering what everybody thought was, as I said, the over under was 82 for a reason.
Yeah, you look at the team stats, total yards. I mean, if you look at total yards, you're like, ooh, defenses didn't really come to play. But there's more. There's more in play to this. Both teams got a turnover. Rushing, there was 510 total yards for Ole Miss, 467 for Tennessee. But it wasn't about the total accumulation of yards. It wasn't about the turnovers. It was about just the overall like getting stops when you needed them. Um, situational football, things like that, that made those yards more empty yards than they usually are. Like you get 510 yards, your score sheet should be in the mid to upper 40s. Is kind of how I see it. So defense did have a hand in bend don't break and letting a lot of those yards be empty yards. Like you have a team in baseball that has a whole bunch of hits, but they leave the bases loaded, 4 out of the 9 innings. It doesn't really amount to much. You know what I mean? So to me, that's the biggest telling stats is you look at the yards compared to the points. And there's a big discrepancy there. They definitely undershot where you think they should be as far as point totals go. And Tennessee has a lot more depth. They're building some quality depth than they had at the beginning of the year. Velus Jones, did I say that right? And Cedric Tillman are 2 receivers that really had a nice game. Tillman went for 84 yards and a touchdown. Jones had, I think, on 7 catches, 94 yards. Didn't have a touchdown, but he led the way as far as yards go. But just think, man, had Hendon Hooker been playing against Pitt, this might be a different ball club here. But we'll talk about Bama, Tennessee this week and whether or not Hooker is going to actually be available for that. But that's just kind of what stood out to me is that Tennessee is playing better complementary football. And for their style of play, that's what
and let's face it, that was a good win for Ole Miss. Despite what you want to say about Tennessee, you knew it was going to be, the fan base was going to be rabid. Didn't know they were going to break ignorant and throw a lot of things. But anyway, so they were coming into a very loud, raucous stadium. That's a good win from them because they'll be able to build on that in the future. I don't know that they'll be in a louder stadium the entire year than it was there, and it had some effect on them. I think early it had some effect on them. Saw Corral talking to his offensive lineman. I think they looked a little disorganized early on, but they quickly got into rhythm and played well. And like I said, it's good win for Ole Miss. Tip your hat to the Rebels. That's a good win for them, and they can build on that.
Absolutely, they can. And so now we're going to jump to the number 1 team in the country, Georgia, hosting Kentucky, a game that had a lot of promise. But again, seeing the Dogs dominate, the Wildcats got a cosmetic touchdown there at the end. But realistically, Will Levis, outside of 1 drive, did absolutely nothing. Wan'Dale Robinson, outside of a few catches, really didn't do much. Had a lot of short catches. Chris Rodriguez really didn't do a whole lot. I'm going to pull up their official stats here. But just again, another week, another team that couldn't handle Jordan Davis. And the play that was most telling about how this game went for Kentucky is they had it. And this was preceding the blocked field goal, which that was a play that told me that things weren't going well for Kentucky. But the biggest play happened 2 plays before that on second down, where they got it 2nd and goal from the 10, and they got Georgia, right? They set up a screen. They had 3 offensive linemen for 1 linebacker, and that linebacker was Nakobe Dean. All they had to do was just get in his way. Jake, I'll get to that in a second. All they had to do was get in his way, and Chris Rodriguez walks into the end zone. But I'm still on Tennessee. But Nakobe Dean just slips all 3 of those blocks, just runs right by those guys, does a turn on a dime, and tackles Chris Rodriguez for no gain or even a loss, like a slight loss. Like all they had to do was just tap him, and Rodriguez walks in. That was the play that told me, wow, this defense is ridiculous. They they get completely beat, and Nakobe Dean just bailed them out, and then they blocked the field goal 2 plays later, and the game was over. Like Kavasi Smoke was your leading rusher. 5 carries, 14 yards. You had McLean, who had 4 carries, 12 yards. Rodriguez, 7 carries, 7 yards. Will Levis, 10 carries for 12 yards, for a grand total of 51 yards rushing. That's insane. Passing, they had 192 yards. How do I feel about them calling a timeout with 3 seconds left? I don't blame them. I would have done the same thing. I mean, you've got, as a coach, you've got to get some positive momentum in a game that's just been terrible for you, and a nightmare offensively, because you're going up against that defense. If you can get a quick touchdown to end on a good note, I'm all for that. I don't blame him one bit. I would have done the same thing. So that's good. I'm not mad about that at all. And any Georgia fan that is mad about that has no idea what football really is about. I mean, that guy is getting paid a lot. He has scholarship players too. So he's got a job to do. He's got to do what's best for his team. And if that means call a timeout with 3 seconds left so you can score a touchdown that really doesn't mean much to the outcome of the game, but it means so much more outside of the outcome of this game. It gives them a little bit more confidence that they just drove down the length of the field. They've got to pay that off. So I don't blame that one bit.
No, I don't either. I agree with you, Corey. You know, you got to look for some positives in that game because you were thoroughly dominated, and you want to come at it with some positives. Obviously, they're not into moral victories, but still, if you drive the ball down at the end of the game and score, that's something you can build on.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else stand out to you there, Craig?
Georgia, it just amazes me every time I watch them. I mean, their defense, the defensive line, they're constantly in the backfield. I mean, they just disrupt everything that you try to do offensively because they can't be blocked. They're in the backfield they're in the backfield the entire game, and it just disrupts everything. If you can't block the defensive line, then your offense is just null and void. Plus, another great thing about this, this helps. They can pressure the quarterback with their front without having to send linebackers, without having to on a blitz situation or send corners or safeties or anything. So they can just sit back and wait because that front line it pressures the quarterback enough. You don't have to do that. That is such a huge luxury for a defense to be able to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you send blitzes because you want to, not because you have to, and that's a good thing to have. Keely Ringo finally gave up his first catch on the year. He finally yielded that. He yielded a couple of them to Wandale Robinson, but that was bound to happen. But I was impressed with how Will Levis stood in there. Dude took a beating. But I was impressed with how he stood in there. It seemed like the play calling was really good for Kentucky. I thought they had some good play designs. I thought they had some good things set up. They missed a couple of passes here and there. But I like the way they kind of flowed. And I know the result didn't really say that, but you could tell what they were trying to do, and the guys buy in and they understand what's going on. So if you can at least see that, then you have some confidence there. So, do you think Mark Davis looks like Simple Jack from Tropic Thunder? Absolutely. So that's hilarious. I don't know what brought that on, but holy cow. But Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders. Yes, he does. So I think, when you look at Georgia defensively, it's just freaking scary good. When you look at Georgia offensively, it's scary with the potential that they have with the pieces they have still not in there. I mean, you're getting a true freshman tight end 4-star from Napa, California, and Lad McConkey taking all your big plays.
Great first name, by the way.
Is that scary, Craig?
Yeah. This
Lad,
team, I
yeah,
was just
great name.
thinking, this team reminds me, was it the 92 Alabama team that was so good defensively? Didn't have, they weren't very, it was Gene Stallings was coach when they won a national championship. I think it was 92, not sure. But it reminds me of that. They've got players, you got a quarterback that's not dynamic. He's no Matt Corral by any stretch, but he's efficient and he's not going to get you beat. And you don't really, I do, I love the running backs that Georgia has, but they're not quote unquote superstars. So you're playing with defense and your offense is efficient and you're going to win football games like that. And like I said, yeah. Thank you very much, Jake. It reminds me of that 92 Bama team.
Yeah, there you go. It's a great comparison there. But as we cruise through this Week 7 recap, we can't leave without making fun of Florida. Wow. You find a team that is trying desperately to look for anything to fire their head coach on Sunday. Like a good old-fashioned ass-kicking at the hands of LSU, or at the hands of Florida, for LSU, would have done the trick. A 20-point win would have done the trick at home. But
I'm not surprised.
There's a play.
I was not surprised.
Hey Craig.
I think
here's a super simple play that they couldn't stop.
Circle the wagons game for Coach O. We're going to circle the wagons and win one for Coach O. I picked LSU, and I was not surprised that they won the ball game. I just felt like, it was one of those games where they were going to circle the wagons. And who knows? The team may have known before the game started that, hey, this is, I've decided this is going to be like my last year to win one for the Gipper. Now, I don't know about them winning games the rest of the year, but,
there's no way. There's no that team. Honestly, you have some guys that are trying to get NIL deals and NFL draft stock. I think is what they're playing for at this point. But for Ty Davis Price getting the breaking the rushing record, that's got to look good on the old resume for Todd Grantham.
No, I agree with you. He had a great game, and Florida is they just mystify me. At the beginning of the year, I didn't think they were going to be the Florida team that we were used to seeing, and they're not, to be quite honest. But they just, wow, the turnover, the interceptions they had, the turnovers in that game just.
Oh, it's brutal.
They just handed it to LSU.
It was brutal. Like AR-15 came in and had was starting to have a good run at it, and then he throws two just baffling interceptions. Emory Jones, well, he is what we thought he was. He's been doing that all year. We were just waiting on Richardson to get healthy at this point. But my prediction was that Richardson was going to be the starting quarterback for the Georgia for the matchup in Jacksonville, and that's looking like it's holding true. I think Steve said that, and you may have said that too, Craig. But this Florida team being this bad, it just doesn't seem like Mullen, to me. It seems like he really desperately wants to have the same offense from last year. He knows he can't, but he so desperately wants to that he keeps jumping back and forth in that world where he does the quarterback run game stuff, and it's really successful. Then he starts trying to go with the Kyle Trask section of the playbook, and it goes to what, and you get what you get this past Saturday. So he can't decide. Todd Grantham has a playbook that he hasn't even finished reading. That's so thick and complicated. Like the defense coordinator can't even understand his own playbook. That's how bad it is, because that's how complicated and deep into the weeds it is. So you have a defense that plays confused. They play slow, and they can't stop counter. Like, that's a problem. You can't stop counter. Where it's a jab step from the running back. You pull the guard, you pull an H, and you block everybody down. You circle those two guys through. You kick one guy out, circle the other guy through. It's a pretty simple play, power and counter. And I felt like Florida did that all freaking game long, right? And it was baffling to me. Like I watched that game going, like all LSU had to do was just turn and hand the ball off. Like LSU didn't need to throw the ball. LSU got themselves in trouble when they started trying to throw the ball. They didn't need to throw the ball at all.
Well,
yeah, I think Mullen's looking for a way out.
Yeah, like I said, he is not. There's no excuse for him not being able to recruit to Florida. Besides Texas, California,
he's a weird dude.
Yeah, besides Texas and California, there's no other state that can compare to Florida when it comes to high school football talent. Hands down, it's those. And for you to be able to not be able to recruit to the state university, I find baffling. And because I'll tell you, there's just not much there. There's just not. They just don't have the skilled players that they've had in the past.
That's insane. And it's insane that no colleges are ranked. And I knew that. Like to see that on papers. So when you look at what he's just like, you just look at his personality. He's just, and all the Ole Miss and Mississippi State people say, Dalen's a weird dude. He's a weird guy. He is very ego-driven, very, just an odd. And when you look at what he's doing and how he kind of operates, the fact that Todd Grant is still on the coaching staff there is baffling. I think Todd Grantham is my internet service provider, by the way. The temperature dropped, and all of a sudden, signal just goes, yeah. So I think Simple Jack is running my internet right now. Yeah. So there you go. That's my take on Florida.
On Vanderbilt, which once again snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. I'll say. Well, a snatched defeat from the jaws of victory is what I'll say.
There you go.
Incredible. I've never seen. I'm telling you that being in Nashville, I've seen a lot of bad football over at Dudley Field, and they just continually,
they worst
continually
Vandy
find ways to lose.
Ever since I really started,
yeah.
Ever since I really started paying attention, I don't get it either.
Yeah,
I don't get it either. So, and ever since I started paying attention to SEC football, I've never seen Vandy this bad. Like this bad. Like this is insane. I know they've probably been this bad before, but this is the worst. Like even in Vandy's worst years, record-wise, they've always been pesky. They've always played hard. They've always been competitive. They've never just got straight out dominated like this. I mean, it's hard to say 21-20 is hardly been, but when you're Vanderbilt and you lose the way they lost, that's kind of that is that. And also, if this were like the Alabama game, I'm like Mississippi State, or my internet is Mississippi State, and this particular session is Bama. It's just killing me. So Windows 95 is Bama, and I'm Mississippi State. There you go. 12-10. Yeah, there's been several head scratching close games that they've lost to UGA, and the one in 2016, Kirby's first year, Zach Cunningham actually single-handedly beat Georgia. They won like 16-10 or something like that. They had Nick Chubb, and it was like 4th and 1, and instead they gave it to Isaiah McKenzie, who weighs like 115 pounds, still playing in the NFL, but they gave it to him on a jet sweep, and you have Nick Chubb.
Wow, how
Like Nick
changed
Chubb against Vandy.
from then to now.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, right? So, yes, Zach Cunningham had like 52 tackles that game. I think he made every tackle. I think he threw a touchdown to himself. Like I'm not really uh I'm not too far. There's not a whole lot of hyperbole in that. But yeah, Vandy is it's brutal. So on that note, let's move to week 8, shall we? Not many contests here in the Eastern Division. Actually, week 7, the final score, A&M just thrashed Missouri. Don't really need to get into that. Missouri sucks. We all know that. Thankfully for South Carolina and Vandy, they're not going to be the worst team in the East. So there you go. Not many contests here. Mississippi State plays Vandy, which that might be the only game Mississippi State will ever run the score up on somebody. Tennessee plays Bama, and South Carolina plays Texas A&M. That's an interesting contest. It's at Kyle Field, but it's one of those where if Texas A&M sleeps, I don't know, crazier things have happened.
Or they're going to have
to,
I mean, physically not show up to the game.
Yeah, that's true as well. That's true as well. They're going to have to forfeit. They're going to have to forfeit. Yes, but Tennessee, Bama, like this game is interesting. What are we hearing on Hooker? I know it's Monday night, and it's probably. But what are we hearing on Hooker?
I don't think that, they've been kind of quiet about it. Don't really know at this moment. I got a feeling it's probably going to be. They may come out later in the week. I highly doubt it. I think it'll be a game time decision, and they won't make a decision until the pregame.
At this point,
or let it be known. I'll say that.
There you go. That's probably a better way to put it. But at this point, Craig, if Hooker can't go, do you go to Harrison Bailey?
No.
Like, you can't go to Joe Milton.
I would go to Joe Milton again before I'd go to Harrison Bailey because this offense, the quarterback running is a big part of it. Bailey, I could probably outrun him. That's not saying I'm 58 years old and I got a big belly. So if I can outrun him, that's pretty bad. So, it's going to be Milton. There's no doubt it will not be Bailey.
If it's Milton, the easiest one would be to take the over, and Bama might cover that themselves. If it's Milton, Milton, there is no way Milton's going to be able to do anything on this offense against this defense. I mean, Hooker was going to have a hard time, honestly, but there's no way. There is no way. Joe Milton said, the PA said not to throw anything anymore.
That's exactly right.
That might be the best one.
3 seconds, he takes off running with the ball.
And then
unbelievable.
Just casually runs out of bounds.
3 seconds to go. I'm going to run. Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's
just going to step out of bounds.
Awareness.
There's no time left.
Good football awareness.
Football awareness. I can't believe Jim Harbaugh got rid of that high football IQ. Jeb's feeding him. Don't give away your secrets.
Yeah,
you gotta make me think you're funny, Steve.
I think they really could use Tyon Evans to be back. I think that not saying that Small didn't do a good job, but Evans is much bigger. He brings more of a home run threat than Small does. So I think it'd be big. It's big to get him back for this game if he's able to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's got to be. But Cassie, to answer your question, I think that light was just a little too bright. It was in my eyes. I was having a squint. But yeah, I don't know. He's got to be smarter than that. But yeah, I can't wait to see a Georgia Florida game either. That might be a name your score type game. But back to this one. For Alabama, I think just being able to stymie Tennessee's offense, really just disrupt the tempo of what they're trying to do, make it a choppier game. And when you have these tempo teams, you've got to make games ugly and choppy. Alabama did it to Ole Miss after that first drive, made it ugly and choppy, and Ole Miss couldn't get in a rhythm, and that's what resulted in that big score. For Tennessee, Pitt disrupted their rhythm at times. They couldn't get into a groove, and they lost that game. Florida disrupted their rhythm, and also they hurt Hendon Hooker. So, and they had Joe Milton in there. But Pitt or Clemson? Ooh, yeah, they do play each other. DJ Ukulele is broken. That's an interesting deal. But yeah, so going back to Tennessee, like I think for them, if they want, they're going to have to find some way to get Tylen Evans involved in this ball game in a big way. And defensively, they have to get hurries. They have to get knockdowns, a couple sacks. They really need some havoc plays. They really need some of their blitzes and pressures to get home on Bryce Young. If they can get Bryce Young, they need to flip on that A&M tape and say, okay, besides better recruiting, what can we do that Texas A&M did to disrupt Alabama? And part of that is taking advantage of still a young Bryce Young quarterback, situation. He's still very new to the position, and there's going to be some things with that you're going to get. And so there you go.
No, I think the key for Tennessee is they need to stop Alabama from running the ball. I won't say stop, but slow them down some. They can't afford to let Alabama just gouge them with the run game. And if that happens, it could get ugly because they will just shove it down their throat. And if they can't stop it, then it will be ugly. They'll never get the ball. If your offense is sitting similar situations as they did with Ole Miss, just ran the ball, and Corral's not going to beat him if he's sitting over the bench on his rear end. He's not going to beat him. So that's what they did against Ole Miss. I'm saying they have a similar game plan against Tennessee.
Yeah, they do, and if they can get success in that. Creatively, they're going to have to figure out different ways because they're not going to just be able to run inside zone right up the ass of the center. But they're going to have to figure out again screens, things that move the chains, and just keep Bama off the field. Jamison Williams is one of my favorite receivers to watch. That dude is explosive. Brian Robinson is a back that he runs hard, man. He's like that. I know Bama fans know this. I know Bama fans know him. But, like, if I were to go say Brian Robinson just around, people are not going to have any clue who that is. Like Najee Harris, everybody know who Najee Harris was. But you look at a mock draft and you see Brian Robinson. Who is that? Like, why? And then you watch him play and you're like, oh, yeah, that's why. Like, he's like, that's who he is to me. And he is extremely valuable because as this Alabama offense goes, he goes, and vice versa. And he's kind of the catalyst for that. If he's going, this offense is going to be highly explosive and productive. If not, that play sheet shrinks to about 2 lines for Bill O'Brien, and he's not sure which one to pick. He gets into trade DeAndre Hopkins panic mode type mindset. If Robinson's not running well. So for Tennessee, they're going to have to disrupt that. They're going to have to get him. They're going to have to get him. Cassidy, good night. Roll Tide. So I think for that was brutal. So yeah, Roy Dale Williams. Okay, he's somebody else. So But yeah, I mean, you know, if Bama can run the ball, they'll be able to get it to John Mechie, and they'll be able to get it to Jameson Williams, and they'll have some big plays. If Tennessee wants any chance at winning this game, which right now, that's just kind of where both teams are. If Tennessee wants a chance at winning this game, which they're playing a lot better than they have in years past, not saying that they're a lock for putting Alabama on upset alert by any stretch, but they can make this thing interesting, disrupt the tempo, hit Bryce Young, and run the football. And that's how you beat Alabama, or that's how you have a chance.
Well,
Right?
as a Tennessee fan, to going up against Alabama, I feel better about, not saying they're going to win because I don't think they will, but I feel better about them being able to hang with Alabama this year than I have in quite some time. And when I mean hang, they lose by 17 points. You
Right.
know, I'll just say they'll be in the game. How's that? It won't be just a complete total blowout. I feel better about it. Could end up that way, but I feel better about the fact that it will not be that way this year.
Exactly. They're going to have to, as Steve said, they're going to have to channel Steven Garcia. Yeah, they're going to have to channel Johnny Manziel because that's Hooker's more of a runner than that. But so yeah, I think for again, like most teams against Bama, they're going to have to play perfectly, and that's just going to have to be what it is. And you know that's what it is right now. Tennessee's not there yet. They will soon be there. Heupel is doing a good job. We'll see how he does recruiting wise, but it seems like he's off to a good start there too. So when we get to more of the offseason stuff, we will talk about Tennessee recruiting. So let's very briefly. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time before we wrap up the show talking about South Carolina A&M again. You know, is Luke Doty going down a good thing for? You know, you never want to say is somebody getting injured a good thing, but you know that natural transition change at quarterback, is that going to be a good thing for South Carolina? Is this change positive, or is it kind of South Carolina is who they are right now, and until they recruit a better quarterback, they're just going to be what they are?
Well, I thought. Well, I'll say this: I just don't. He'll probably start on Saturday, just based on the last drive of the game. But is he he's had his opportunity, wasn't the answer. Doty's had his, it's just been back and forth. It's obvious that the quarterback position is a serious need for South Carolina because neither one of those guys are what I would deem
Paging
SEC quality.
Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. I just don't. I don't deem either one of those guys as SEC quality
No.
quarterbacks.
And that's probably why they're in a 1-point game, come from behind victory over Vanderbilt. Probably why they're in that situation. So, unless something really weird happens, which is certainly not off the table, I have a hard time believing this game. You know, A&M's favored by 21. I have a hard time believing A&M's not going to cover that spread.
I agree with you. I agree 100% with that. That's why I said I think the only way South Carolina wins this game is if, A&M just physically does not show up for the game. I mean, just, there's nobody on the sideline for A&M. It's a forfeit. That's the only way. There's no way they're going to beat A&M. No way.
Yeah, especially at Kyle Field. It's just
Right.
not going to happen.
Right.
Isaiah Spiller's going to have a huge game. Yeah, Zeb's dead. Georgia killed him.
Well, you talk about that South Carolina. Vanderbilt outplayed them, 59 minutes of the game.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we're saying what we're saying. Unless something really weird happens, like A&M late, they're beyond whatever the threshold is that you have to wait for a team to show up before you cancel the game and honor a forfeit. That's about the only chance I think South Carolina has of winning, unless Texas A&M's 3 deep all get injured and they're playing with walk-ons, then we might talk about South Carolina. Like A&M's going to have to be down to their sixth running back. They're going to have to be like pulling people out of the stands to play quarterback. Which they've already pulled guys out of the coach's office, and that didn't work.
True.
So they're going to have to pull people from the band, probably.
Very true.
So, to me, there's not really much here for South Carolina. They're not. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and ruin the surprise on the SEC After Dark, but I'm gonna pick A&M to cover this by a mile. This can be one of those like 42-3 type games.
No, I agree with you. I lay the points and with A&M, no doubt, and no hesitation at all.
How do we feel about Vandy against Mississippi State? Is this one of those where Mississippi State's just weird enough to where they could possibly be in a competitive game with Vandy? Did Vandy show us enough that maybe they can compete with somebody? And Mississippi State might be that somebody, or how do we feel about this game?
No, I agree with you. I think that Vanderbilt, it wouldn't surprise me if Vanderbilt won this game. To be quite honest with you, I think Mississippi State's reeling. And then you also have to look at how teams fare after playing Alabama. It's usually not a very good result the following week. So they're coming in reeling a little bit. Of course, Vandy is too after the debacle of losing that South Carolina game. But I think
been reeling since
I think this will be a
year.
tight game, and I would listen. It would not surprise me if Vanderbilt won this game.
The Mississippi State is favored by 21 points.
I'd take Vandy in this game.
My rule says don't pick Vandy against no matter what the spread is, but I might have to break that rule.
Yeah.
This is one of those weird matchups.
Yep.
And it's at Vandy.
Yep.
And it is a
home crowd advantage.
Home crowd advantage for who? Mississippi State?
You notice I didn't say anything.
Yeah, home crowd advantage.
Say which.
Yeah. Steve picked Vandy last week. What was South Carolina's favored by 18 last week? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
And they definitely covered that. Yeah, against the spread. Yeah, we know you didn't pick them to win because that would be ridiculous. But they did do well against the spread yesterday. They finally covered, didn't they?
Yep.
So that's good. But yeah, so Pitt Clemson, let's go out of the league and we'll end there. Kenny Pickett, which a lot of people are saying could be ACC Player of the Year. Pitt has really this favors Tennessee too. Oklahoma, hell yeah, it did. Good Lord, they look like a completely different ball club. So Kenny Pickett could be ACC Player of the Year. This is a big game for them against Clemson. I don't know what it does divisionally for them. I guess it would, if they beat Clemson, it'll come down to a Pitt NC State matchup. Or, to be honest with you, I don't know my ACC divisions. I don't know who's in the leaders and legends, and the Bobby Bowden division versus the Frank Beamer division, or however they break it up over there in the ACC. But I really think this Pitt team dedicated themselves to finding some offense, because they definitely didn't have this a year ago with Kenny Pickett. They were very defensive oriented and just let's get to 17 so our defense can shut the other team down. Now they're scoring a lot of points. Pitt versus NC State for the ACC title. I think Wake Forest leads their division.
Yes, they do.
And so Pitt would probably lead the other one, right? I don't know. Somebody, look at the divisions, I guess. But this is, again, Pitt and NC State would be a very ACC matchup there. But
let's hope it doesn't go head to
head.
head. The ACC, if it ends up that way, the ACC championship doesn't go head to head with the SEC championship. I'll probably be able to count the number of viewers on one hand for that game.
It's all the parents of the players from the
Yes.
two teams in the ACC. And even then, some of them be like, yeah, no, Georgia, Bama, or Wake Forest versus Syracuse. Okay. Yeah. Syracuse not making it, but I had to get a little hyperbole in there. Um, so, like, is DJ Ongulale, is he broken? Or is he just, or do they just completely whiff on the evaluation of him?
Good question. Again, similar to Florida, Dabo is not. He doesn't have a lot of weapons around him. You know, he's one of those quarterbacks that at this point he's not going to be able to, I guess, take his team on his shoulders and generate offense in various ways. He's not capable of doing that, and Clemson does not have the dudes that they've had in the past to be able to overcome that. So,
Mm-hmm.
I you know I just like I said, they remind me of Florida. They are just I guess devoid of well, void of offensive talent.
Yeah, I mean, Travis Etienne is the apparently the thing that held that team together. DJ Ongulale, to me, you look for your quarterback to be that dude, right? Where he walks in the huddle and he's in charge, he's in total control, and hey, we're in a sticky situation. He's gonna get us out of it. We're backed up, crowd's in a frenzy. We're backed up, you know, on our own five, the -5. They've got 95 yards to go. But we're gonna get out of it. Not DJ, not Big Cinco. He curls up into a shell. He just doesn't have that demeanor. Like when you recruit, you've got to be able to see that. I know it's very easy for some of these guys to play high school football. Like for DJ Ongulale, I'm sure it wasn't overly difficult to play high school football. He did play at St. John Bosco, which they do play some good content. But still, guys like that, they don't like they don't really struggle all that much outwardly. But as a recruiter at somewhere like Clemson, you've got to be able to look beyond that and say, does you got to be able to tell, if this kid can be in an adverse situation. Um, and you look at it by sideline demeanor because nobody's perfect. He's going to have interceptions. He's going to throw bad passes. When you look at Trevor Lawrence at Cartersville, yeah, he never lost a game from youth ball all the way up until he got to the NFL. But you could look at him and just see that he has this it factor by the way he carries himself, by the way he interacts with people on the sideline, when when he makes a mistake, you know, just the way he goes about and handles his business. DJ Ungulale there's probably some red flags there that you didn't see.
I don't disagree with what you're saying there. I think that's a very fair assessment, Corey, of that. And like I said, he's not the kind of quarterback that's going to be able to generate offense and be able to carry your ball club. And if he
They
can't
have
do
no
that,
rushing attack either.
yeah, then you got to have weapons around him, and they just do not have weapons this year.
So put a blindfold on, right? And pretend like you don't know who these people play for, right? So I'm saying University of Pittsburgh and Clemson University. Okay. I'm going to read you some stats. Put a blindfold on, pretend like you don't know who these people are. Okay. The season leaders passing. You have quarterback A, who's 97 for 174, 974 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Quarterback B, 143 yards on 205 attempts, 1,934 yards, 21 touchdowns to just 1 interception. If you didn't know any better, who do you think would have the 21-1? Who would you expect if I just
Yeah, well, sure.
read you
I
those
would,
blind
I would,
resumes?
if you're going to say between Pitt and Clemson, you would think it would be the Clemson quarterback.
Yeah. and it's not. Pickett, far and away the better quarterback. The rushing is a wash here. Not much in the way of rushing for either team. But you have the leading receiver has 1 touchdown reception on 18 catches for Clemson, and the other one has 9 touchdown catches on 34 receptions. Like, these aren't numbers that Pitt put up in the past, since some guy named Larry Fitz something was there. Should have won a Heisman if you ask me. But you look at Pitt, impressive performance offensively. I mean, they put up points on Tennessee, and seeing what they're doing to the rest of the ACC and seeing the year that Kenny Pickett's having, it gives a little bit more credibility, I think, to Tennessee, knowing that, okay, this wasn't just because we were bad, that we're bad on defense and we were bad at this moment. They've been doing this to everyone they've played against, and they've been impressive. And I really like this Pitt team, and I really, really, really wouldn't be surprised if they won this game.
No, I wouldn't either. I agree 100% with that.
And it's at Pitt, too.
Yeah, they have a huge advantage at the quarterback position.
So stay tuned for that. But we're going to jump off here, Craig. Any final things you want to add? Anything you want to?
Light schedule this coming week, so I don't know if there would be any opportunity for any other SEC home teams to litter fields because there's not really any marquee matchups. We'll see if Alabama will litter the field if they get a bad call in the Tennessee game. We'll see what happens. Of course, it costs Tennessee $250,000 for that, so
yeah.
It is what it is.
The highly ranked.
If you tear down the goalpost, it's the same amount, right? And at $250, I think Kentucky got fined $250 for when they ran onto the field at the win over Florida. I think that was $250, or LSU won the two. It was $250,000 fine.
Exactly. And
by the way, where'd that go, Corey? Where do you think that $250,000 goes?
Sankey's back pocket.
Well, I was going to say, and a really nice Christmas party in Birmingham at the SEC headquarters.
Mm-hmm. Extra Christmas bonus. Jelly of the Month Club for guys like Jake. But so 3 Big Ten teams are back in action this weekend as well. They all 3 of them got huge wins over Idle University. Idle University had 3 teams apparently, so that was good, right? But it's gonna be an interesting week, I think. It's a light week as far as conference games, no marquee matchups, but I think you're going to see a couple of results and go, okay, this game was a lot more fun than it was on paper. Like maybe Vandy, Mississippi State might actually be a very entertaining game. Stay tuned. That might actually be the CBS game this week. Who knows? That's how weird.
No, that will be now. LSU Ole Miss.
I know. I was a little bit of hyperbole. Well, I'm sure Steve might want to talk about that on SEC After Dark. So if you want to hear our analysis on that, I don't know if he's been talking about it on the Palmcast or not. But LSU and Ole Miss, they play each other this week. I guess I don't know. So that's going to wrap us up, though. We are the Beast of the East podcast. If you joined in on the chat, I do appreciate it. We do appreciate it. If you want to hit that subscribe on YouTube, hit that bell. Find us. We are echoing our broadcast. So my Windows 95 is my movement for Windows 95 is reaching the entire world. It's reaching across 7 platforms. So I think we're up to 2.2 million views across like 72 platforms, something like that. So you better get on board now. I'm getting a phone call from French's Mustard, so we're getting sponsored by them, and Titleist I think is going to jump in for they especially want a piece of Craig.
Yes,
so that's good. But yeah, so follow us, rate, subscribe, hit that bell notification, follow us on wherever you can find us. You could probably, if you just click on the internet, you could probably find us. We might have an ad on Google at this point. But anyway, that's going to do it. We are the Beast of the East podcast presented by betonline.ag. However you found us, we appreciate you. We hope you come back. And we hope you have a great rest of your week. Check us out. Check us out every Monday night. Check me out every Wednesday night on SEC After Dark, and as well on we air every Friday morning for Believe in Georgia Dogs with the Israel Troops. So hit us up on Twitter. Stephen Willis, the Stephen Willis is a great follow if you haven't followed him already. At Coach Burton 36 at Believe in Dogs for me, at D Craig Ladd at One Team Media also is one that you may want to follow, and follow Troopstar 28. He's entertaining as well. So for Craig, I'm Corey Burton. Again, this is the Beast of the East podcast presented by betonline.ag on Believe Podcast Network and Willis Digital Media. Have a great rest of your week and an even better weekend, and we'll see you back here next week. So long. Goodbye. Goodbye.